Hello guys and welcome to my channel. I'm Valiant, Val for short, and if you guys would like to check me out, I mainly stream on Twitch, sometimes TikTok. Today we will be talking about the Uber Lilith boss encounter. This video will mainly cover the poison imbuement rogue stagger point of view, plus the build, best aspects, skills, and my Paragon setup. I'm going to let the boss fight play out and then go over the build in detail afterwards. I also have a video of the in-depth boss mechanics and how to approach this fight if you need more information.
I'm not ready yet.
There's a couple tips to begin with. The first tip might seem like basic information, but be sure that your unique gloves, Fist of Fate, have 2 high rolls on the lucky hit chance to immobilize and daze. The higher the rolls, the quicker you will stagger her, and the easier the fight will be. The unique roll on the gloves isn't as important as the 2 rolls above it, but obviously a higher roll is better for you. Second tip that I have is if you are having trouble placing traps at the beginning of phase 2, bring an amulet that has flat cooldown reduction and trap cooldown reduction on it. Swap to that and place traps before the encounter starts. You could even put on your original amulet mid cooldown duration and the time should still stay the same. For example, if it says you have 4 seconds until you can place the next trap, if you swap back to the original amulet, it will stay at 4 seconds. The duration won't increase at all. For our aspects, we are going to be using manglers on the helm. Try to get a perfect roll on this, 45%, every percent will help. Mine's only 39%, but I was testing out all the aspects and swapping them around on the gear. The most necessary stat on the helm is the +4 ranks of poison imbuement. After that, you should prioritize attack speed, cooldown reduction, and the last stat you could go for dexterity for more damage or just maximum life. On the chest, I was using the aspect Noxious Ice. I didn't really feel any improvement in the damage while using this, but there's really not many options to use her. On the chest, we're going to prioritize imbuement skill damage, poison damage. You could go for 4 different kinds of damage. After poison and imbuement, the best 2 would probably be plus damage overall or plus damage with dual wielded weapons. You could also go for plus life, damage reduction, flat dexterity. Obviously, Fist of Fate is a must. Remember better rolls on Immobilize and Daze in a unique aspect. Just like the chest piece, there's not a lot of options for this aspect. We went with Disobedience just to stack armor. On the legs, the only 2 options for damage are Imbuement skill, cooldown reduction, and Dexterity. So use this item slot to build your survivability. Dodge chance, maximum life, damage reduction. Just like the legs and the chest, there's not really an aspect that you could put here that helps in this build. I didn't feel a damage increase from these boots, even with the talent points as well, but I kept them on, that there wasn't a better option. For our crossbow, we will be using the aspect of corruption. This one's mandatory as well. Your imbuement skill effects have 80% increased potency against vulnerable enemies. For our crossbow, we're going to need vulnerable damage, critical strike damage, max dexterity, and damage to close enemies. Cher's Conjar, in my opinion, is also a must. He gives us much needed lucky hit and attack speed. The faster we hit, the more lucky hits we get, faster we stagger. For your offhand, I suggest using a sword, and the aspect needed here is going to be twisting blades. There's not another spot for it. The best stats for the offhand would be vulnerable damage, critical strike damage, damage to close enemies, and dexterity. For the first ring, we're going to be using bursting venoms. This is mandatory. We need to be able to spam our poison imbuement. For our rings, we are using vulnerable damage and critical strike damage. And it'd be ideal if we could get lucky hit chance and critical strike chance as well. For our second ring, I know it's showing the smiting aspect, but I was testing out all the aspects. I feel like the best aspect to use here would be the inner calm one. You deal 10% increased damage for each second you stand still, up to 30%. This is actually one of the only aspects that I could feel the difference in while testing out the others. Finally, for our amulet, we are going to be using accelerating aspect. Critical strikes with core skills increase your attack speed by up to 38% for 5 seconds. For the amulet, the main stat we need is plus 3 ranks of all imbuement skills. And then we could go for cooldown reduction, plus percent dexterity, and energy cost reduction helps a lot here as well. Other stats you could go for would be any other plus skills. For the skills, Malice Works, Exploit, Trap cooldown reduction. You could also go for plus damage, damage reduction. We don't need movement speed for this build. We're not going to go for imbuement skill cooldown reduction. We're going to rely on the aspect of bursting venoms. If this doesn't proc, the cooldown reduction is not going to matter either way. I tried out Manglers on the amulet. You lose out on too much attack speed. I tried out other aspects on that didn't really work out for the build. I feel like the aspects I'm giving you now are the best for this encounter. In the skill tree, we're going to put 1 point of puncture, enhanced puncture, and fundamental puncture. We're going to put 5 points into twisting blades, enhanced twisting blades, and improved twisting blade. 1 point to sturdy. Personally, I prefer 2 points into siphoning strikes for this boss. For nightmare dungeons, I take all 3. 1 point to shadow step, and 1 point into enhanced shadow step. 3 points into weapon mastery. We'll put 1 point into dash, 1 point into poison trap, enhanced and subverting poison trap. 3 points into exploit, and 3 points into malice. We want to get poison imbuement as high as possible. We get +4 from our helm and +3 from our amulet. Almost all of our damage is going to be coming from the poison in this fight. And we're going to put 5 points into this. We're going to put 1 point in enhanced and blended poison imbuement as well. Next, we put 3 points into deadly venom and 1 point into alchemical advantage. Just extra attack speed, it helps a little bit. Put 3 points into frigid finesse. Again, I didn't really feel the extra damage from this, but there aren't many other options to put it into. 3 points into precision imbuement. In the ultimate tree, we're going to put 3 points into innovation, 3 points into alchemist's fortune, and 3 points into second wind. We're going to put 3 points into trap mastery. And for our key passive, we're going to take close quarters combat. This increases our attack speed. The faster we attack, the faster we stagger, the quicker we kill the boss. On the starting Paragon board, we're going to go to the right, take the damage nodes. And then for our glyph, we are going to be taking Cutthroat and maxing that out. For the next board, we're going to be taking Tricks of the Trade. We are not going for the legendary node. For the glyph, we're going to be using Turf. It's damage to close enemies. We're going to go right and take the exploit weakness board and the legendary node, the glyph exploit. The next Paragon board that we are going to go for is Eldritch Bounty. We are going to be grabbing the legendary node. In this board, we are picking up a lot of non-physical damage to help the poison out. And the glyph will be Combat. And then we're going to make our way out the right and pick up the Cunning Stratagem board. The glyph will be Tracker. This increases our poison damage, and the poison damage effects last 33% longer. And the last board we will be taking is No Witnesses. And the glyph will be Bane. We will be trying to buff this glyph as much as possible because poison damage is what we're focusing on in this build. Other glyphs that could be good for this build would be Versatility. Non-basic and non-core skills deal 15% increased damage. Efficacy. Imbuement skill effects have 20% increased potency. And Canny. It would increase our non-physical damage. And it also has a stacking effect for non-physical damage as well. In my opinion, the only glyph that we could probably replace is Closer. We're not reliant on the Cutthroat skill damage. We're focusing on the poison damage. I know we're also using Combat, but Combat has a chance to restore our energy, which is useful for spamming Poison Imbuement. This is just a quick overview of the Paragon board. The link for the full guide will be listed below. Thank you guys for watching the video. I appreciate it. Any comments or feedback is welcome. See you next time.